what can you tell me? What is your understanding of this symbol, this dotted half note? Sarah?
It's sort of like a half note, but as the dot adds to the note, it adds another one.
Okay, the dot adds another count, another value. Erica? 3 counts. Okay, what other understanding do we have of this? Lisa, do you have a different understanding? Raj? What adds half the value? The dot. Okay, the dot adds half the value of what?
Of the note.
Okay, of the note that precedes it. Great. Etienne, do you have a different understanding?
It's equal to, like, when you have the tie, and it's when there's one note of 2 and one note of 1.
One note of 2 and one note of 1. What 2 types of note would that be? I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying it'd be just like a tie, but a note of 2 and a note of 1. Can someone explain that a little bit differently for the class right now? Okay, instead of being a tie, it's a dot. But what's another way to say what he said? He said a count of 2 and a count of 1. What is another way to say that, Erica? Excellent. The first note would be a half note, which gets 2 counts tied to a quarter note with 1 count. So it would look like this right here, but we would have a tie over that. It would be the same. Okay? Now, how do you think Mr. Arrastia would like you to count this? How do we count half notes? What do I have you do? Sean? Tam is one way. What's the other way? Yes? Half note. Okay? But now we have a dot, so it's going to be half note dot. That's how I want you to, I'm going to put right here the words. Half note dot. So you're actually saying what you're reading. So that tells me that you recognize that note as a dotted half note by counting it half note dot. Okay? Let's take a look at 69 right now. Amber, go ahead. 69. What? Put your finger on the key signature right now. Put your finger on the key signature, please. Put your finger on the key signature. Okay. Now, what is directly to the right of the key signature? What is directly to the right of the key signature? Tyler, what do you got?
The first note.
Before that. Evelina? The time signature. What does the time signature say, Rudaba? Pardon me? You said it right. Say it out loud. 3/4, which is the symbol here. Who can explain the time signature for the class? Who can explain this? Debbie? Each measure there's 3 counts. What else can you tell me about it? Yes, read it. 3 beats in a bar, okay. What else? We know it's 3 beats in a bar. What else can you tell me about it? Anna?
Quarter note gets 1.
The quarter note gets 1 count, okay. So, how many, in one measure of 3/4 time, how many quarter notes can we have? Erica? 3. How many eighth notes can we have? Jihoon, how many eighth notes in one measure of 3/4? Oh, June, sorry. How many? Do the math. Do the math. I'll come back to you. Don't answer that question. I want him to figure it out. How many half notes can we fit in one measure of 3/4 times? Laura, how many? 1. And what would that leave you with? A quarter rest or a quarter of a beat to make 3. Okay, what one note can fill up the whole measure of 3/4 time? Sebastian? A dotted half note because it gets 3 counts. Okay, June. What is it? Answer. I haven't given up on you. If we get 3 quarter notes in one measure, how many eighth notes?
Oh, seriously?
6. Very good. Great. All right. We got it. So 6. So if you look up here, on the board here we have 3 quarter notes in one bar, 6 eighth notes, a half note plus a quarter note, or one note, which would be a dotted half. Okay? Let's count 69 right now. Here's how I want you to count it. Let's count it with numbers. Okay? So how many numbers are we going to be using? 3. Okay? And then we have a tie to the third measure, and that tie will just count it the regular way. Half note 3. Okay? Here we go. Let's count 69. Everybody, put your finger on the page and move your finger from measure to measure and count out loud. Ready? Go.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Half note 3. Half note dot. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Half note 3. Half note dot.
Okay, great. Now, I'd like you to do the fingering. Do the fingering while I play it. Very good. Okay, let's try playing it. Here we go. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. Baritones might need to set the instruments down, but I want you to do this while you're sitting down. Don't rush, stay with me. Is it getting faster? Okay, slow down. Okay, what's the stop? What's the strongest part of that? The clap? What feels the strongest? This. Boom. And what beat is that? 1. So at the beginning of the measure, the strongest there, that's the emphasis is on that beat. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of volunteers. Malika and Anna, come on up here. Just set your instruments down. Come on up here. Okay? Anna, what do you want to play? Bass or snare? Okay, you're going to play bass. Come here. You put your knee right here, and you're just going to, on those 3 beats, you're going to play on the first one. You're going to be the You are and you are papa. Okay? So, she's going to go you're going to go pa. Okay? Ready? Here we go. I'll give you 3 beats. Put your knee up here. Just to dampen it. Your knee into there. Put one hand here. Press against it so it dampens and play out here. Great. Here we go. Ready? And pa, 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 pa. Great. Stop. Now, you'll be our timekeepers now. And we're going to play 69 right now with Malika and Anna accompanying us. Ready? Here we go. Ready? I'm going to let them get started, then I'll cue you in. I'll tell you when to start. We'll start with them first. Ready? Here we go. And boom, pa, pa. Keep going. Get ready, buddy. 1, ready, play. Because what we have to do when we're playing on our own without a timekeeper is we have to internalize that beat. We have to feel that boom, bah, bah, boom. They made it easy because it's like, you know, it's very easy to follow. And they did a great job because what was it about the quality of the way they played it that made it easy for us? The rhythm was right. What else? It was right. Tyler,
Really loud.
okay, you can hear it. It was right. You can hear what else? Oh, brilliant. Shh, don't say that again. They didn't change the speed. They kept the same tempo, which is so important. Like that. Boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba, boom, ba. You go crazy trying to follow that, okay? All right, great. So I think we have a pretty good understanding right now of 3/4 time in the field. Let's take a look at dynamics now. And what I want to ask you is, what is your understanding of dynamics? What is your understanding of dynamics? Sean? Forte is loud, piano soft. What other types of understandings do we have? Erica? How you play the piece? Tempo? Oh, who said that? Can you explain, Sarah? Okay, who can sum up in one sentence what dynamics are? Who can sum it up? Eric.
Dynamics are how loud or how soft a measure or a piece is.
How loud or how soft you play. Okay, Verena.
Forte is 8, piano is 2.
Okay, we talked about the numbering system. And we talked about a 2 and about an 8, and we said piano here. Okay, so we'll revisit that in a second. How do we physically play louder or softer? It has to do with the word volume. Malika.
No more air.
More air to play what?
Forte.
Louder, you need to move more air. When you're playing softer, you move
Less air.
less air, but you still maintain the pressure to support the sound. Let me give you a demonstration really quick here. Okay? Now, I probably have the most control on this, but listen. Listen carefully. Be really quiet. As long as I don't explode, I'm okay. Now, I just started to move more air. Okay, I'm going to try that on the trumpet just to see if I can give you. I'll start there. Listen, what? Amr? Malika? I would really appreciate if you could focus on me right now. Okay? Here we go. Just look up here. And it's challenging for each instrument. It's a little bit different. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm saving the last one, which requires the most air, more than any of these, more than the tube. Okay, listen. And now, the flute actually requires more air than any of the other wind instruments. Because you think it would, huh? But it requires a tremendous amount of air. Part of the reason is that you don't have the resistance that the other instruments have. The mouthpiece, the trumpet, the brass mouthpiece, or the reed. There's no resistance. You create resistance with your embouchure, with the opening. This is probably the most challenging one. Let's see. Now, if you notice what I did, what happens is flutes, when you're playing soft, you tend to to go flat. So you need to make slight adjustment upward to keep the pitch up. And as you get louder and you go in a little